suck on my electrons, Diesel.
You crashed your car!
Oh, What's happening, YouTube? Josh Tedder here from 6 months later, and I just got a Tesla Model 3 and wanted to share my thoughts with you on the car. Now, I know there are already a ton of Model 3 first impressions videos out there on YouTube, so for this video, I wanted to try and talk about some things that you may not have heard about from the other Model 3 first impressions videos, just so I'm not regurgitating everything you already know from other YouTubers. Now, we'll have a full in-depth review of the Model 3 6 months from now, where we'll go over all the features, the quirks, tips and tricks, and how the car performs after 6 months of use. So for now, let's start back at the very beginning of my Model 3 journey, which was March 31st, 2016. I, like many others around the country and around the globe, waited in line at their local Tesla stores to put $1,000 down for their Model 3 reservation. And almost 2 years to the day, I took delivery of my Model 3. Now, I was about 40th in line that day, but when I took delivery of the car, the Tesla reps actually told me I was either the first or second person in the area who was a non-owner to actually take delivery of the car, which was pretty cool. Now, picking up a Tesla is unlike picking up any other car from any other brand. First off, there's no price haggling because Tesla owns all their own stores, so there's no discounting. The price you see is the price you pay, which is great in my opinion. I hate price haggling. The second great thing about it is paperwork. Typically, when you take delivery of a car, people spend a good 4 or 5 hours at a dealership just getting all the paperwork done and out of the way. Well, with Tesla, you do a lot of your documents, upload your driver's license, etc. You do that all online before you even take delivery of the car. The paperwork at delivery took me no less than 7 minutes. The rest of the time was spent going over the features of the car, as well as me doing a little inspection looking for fit and finish issues, which I only found one, just a little nick on the screen, and I've got a service center appointment to take care of that. Otherwise, I didn't see anything else on the car and was really impressed with the quality. And I know there's some panel gap people out there who obsess, they take like rulers out to measure how big the panel gaps are. I'm not one of those people, so just as a disclosure, I really could care less about the panel gaps, but nice thing with the Model 3 that I got, I didn't notice any significant panel gaps or alignment issues or anything with the car's panels. Alright, so now to the big question. What do I think of the car? This car is incredible. It blows any ICE or internal combustion engine car out of the water. I mean, it is just, Teslas are incredible cars to drive, to ride in. They're comfortable. The Model 3 feels almost exactly like when you drive the Model S or X, with a couple of differences. The first one being ride quality. Now, when the Model 3s first started coming out, I know there were a lot of complaints from early owners about the harsh ride quality. And since then, Tesla has improved the suspension coils on the later Model 3s, including the car I took delivery of. Now, as a non-owner coming from a non-Tesla, the ride quality is fine. To me, it's actually pretty smooth. Again, I'm coming from a 2002 Honda Accord, and to me, the Model 3 suspension is way better than that car, which of course you would expect, but you don't feel the bumps as much as you did in my Accord. Now, yes, you can feel every bump and every groove in the road, but it feels almost muted, if that makes sense. So it's enough to register that, oh yeah, there was a bump in the road, but it's not nearly enough to like crack your jaw or something just with the bumpiness of the ride. So to me, the Model 3's ride quality is fine, especially since I'm coming from a non-Tesla. But if you're a Tesla owner and you have the air suspension, I can totally see the complaint about the ride quality because you're just used to that silky smooth, not even registering a bump in the road, going to a sportier suspension like the Model 3. Now, the acceleration on the Model 3 is not nearly as fast as what it is on a Model S or a Model X, but to me, it feels plenty fast. Like, you have plenty of passing speed, and it is just a ton of fun with that pure electric torque. Especially when you're in the 20 to 60 mile per hour range, this car just goes. It is just simply a blast to drive. Literally, it feels like you're in a spaceship because this car just blasts off. Now, another thing that was different for me with the Model 3, just being a first-time Tesla owner as well as a first-time electric car owner, is actually range anxiety. When I first took delivery of my Model 3 and I started to see the battery tick down, I oddly got quite a bit of range anxiety, even though I had over 200 miles of range left. So if you're getting a Model 3 or just any electric car and you've never had one before, definitely be prepared for that. Now, it's worn off, like I'm totally good now, but as someone who's read a lot about electric cars and kind of tried to mentally prepare themselves for that going in, I was still shocked at how much it affected me the first couple of days or so I had the Model 3. Although, what didn't help was, the first day I got the Model 3, every 110 volt outlet I plugged it into tripped. That was not a great feeling for a day one electric vehicle and day one Tesla owner. Now, since then, I of course have a 240 volt outlet readily available that I can charge the car in, which I highly recommend if you are getting charging equipment installed for your Tesla or any electric car. Definitely go 240 if you can. It is way better. Now, another thing I noticed coming from an older car over to the Model 3 was how good the headlights on the Model 3 actually are. They're really bright and they evenly distribute light across your view when you're driving the Model 3. But they're not blinding. If you stand in front of the Model 3 and look at the headlights, you're not going to go blind like some of those other cars out there. The high beams work really well too. I cannot wait till Tesla enables auto high beams. That's going to make country driving so much easier with the Model 3, so can't wait for that feature. And the auto headlights work really well. That's a feature I've not been accustomed to in a car before. I just leave it on auto all the time. It rains, it turns them on. It's, you go under a bridge, you're going to a parking deck, automatically turns them on. Like, it's a really cool feature. Now, one part of the car that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about is how good the air filtration is inside the Model 3. Now, the Model 3 does not come with bioweapons defense mode like you get in the S and X today, but the filtration is still very good. Now, I'm coming from a non-Tesla. I came from a 2002 Honda Accord where I basically drove with recirculated air on almost 100% of the time, so I wouldn't get exhaust fumes from smelly cars or trucks inside the Accord's cabin. Now, with the Model 3, I didn't even notice recirculated air was off until about a week into ownership. I didn't get any smelly exhaust or car fumes coming through the vents in the Model 3 at all, which to me is just amazing. So what are some of the things that I don't like about the Tesla Model 3? Well, the first one I noticed were the door handles. If you have direct sunlight on them, you may start to see micro scratches appear in the chrome on the door handles. To me, that made me feel sick to my stomach because it was the first scratch I saw in the car, and if you've ever bought a new car, you probably realize that the anticipation of the first scratch or dent in the car is the worst feeling in the world. But at the same time, once you see the dent or scratch, somewhat liberating because the car is now not a museum piece. You don't have to worry about where the first imperfection is going to be. It's already there and you could just breathe a sigh of relief. And yeah, so they scratch. Another thing that scratches in the Model 3 is the steering wheel. Now, I don't know how, but somehow I have scratched the steering wheel not once, but twice on the underside of the steering wheel in my Model 3. Now, I don't know if that's because Tesla is using their fake leather material for the steering wheel in the Model 3, unlike in the S or X where they actually still use leather, or if it's just because it's easy to scratch, my fingernails scratched it, or my badge at work scratched it. I still can't actually figure out because I don't register the event where I scratched it, but kind of annoying. I mentioned it to them for the service appointment to see if they can try to buff it out or anything out of the steering wheel. But yeah, just be aware that the steering wheel on the Model 3 can scratch. Now, another thing I've noticed with the car is I think the placement of the emergency door release latch on the driver and passenger side of the car is actually too well placed. I've had some passengers that have instinctively just pulled that lever to get out of the car instead of press the button on the door. I think in the next iteration of the Model 3, when they do a slight interior refresh, or maybe they'll do it sooner, they need to move that latch somewhere where only like the driver is going to know where it is, and so your passengers don't mistakenly pull that and release the door. Now, of course, I've only had it happen like once or twice, so it's probably not going to ruin the alignment of the door. But Tesla does warn you every time you do that on the screen. It says, warning, you're about to probably destroy the alignment of your door and you may need service. So don't pull the latch. Now, the last issue I've had with the car has been with the charge port door. After my first Model 3 car wash, which I did myself, of course, got to wash that baby by hand, I noticed that I got an error on the screen that says charge port door needs service. Now, I reset the car, restarted it by clicking in the 2 scroll wheel buttons on the steering wheel. Nothing. The message still came up, and what would happen was not only would the message come up, but the charge port door just started to open and close rapidly on its own, which was really weird. So I called Tesla service about this. I added it as an issue to my next service appointment later this week. Now, I haven't noticed it in the past maybe 2 or 3 days. Hopefully the issue just went away and they won't have to do anything more about it, but at least they're gonna take a look at that as well. Well, those are my first impressions of the car. Now, I have come to truly love driving my Model 3 every single day, and to be honest, I'm still getting used to just being able to call myself a Tesla owner and part of the Tesla family. Now, we'll have plenty of videos about the Tesla Model 3 on this channel, as well as a big 6 months later review of the Tesla Model 3 later in the year. Until then, thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more Tesla videos like this one. Until next time, I'm Josh Tedder for 6 months later.